Out of the almost 80,000 square kilometers that we have, about like 40 to 50% of it was underwater at some point, and about 81 districts were affected in some way or the other, right? And transport of this food that had survived became a big issue because again we don't have proper storage. तो फर्ज करो अब गंदम आई है, बहुत सारी गंदम पड़ी है. What they'll do is just जमीन पे रखेंगे गंदम, then they'll just stack it on top of each other and put a plastic का cover on it. अब बारिश होगी तो क्या होगा? पानी नीचे से भी आ रहा है, साइड से भी आ रहा है, सब गंदम बह गया, and then like if the flood situation comes, the water just takes the crop and the crops going along with the water wherever the water is flowing. The impacts of like the floods will affect us for the next 2-3 years. People in Sindh, especially upper Sindh, so there's an ancient connection between the Indus River and Lake Manchar. I don't know if you guys know much about it. Okay, the flood waters basically in ancient times also used to go back and forth. So there was kind of this sort of connection between the Indus River and this Lake Manchar, which is a freshwater lake. So the region between Lake Manchar and the Indus, where it enters Sindh, that whole area was flooded. So like, I think like, you know, Dadu and Kot, something, Nathan Shah is a city over there. So Khairpur, Nathan Shah, all those areas were completely underwater. And those areas have gone so far back that not only did people lose their crops and their livestock, they lost their houses as well, right? And they lost whatever possessions they have. The annual per capita, that means per person, availability of water is estimated at 1100 cubic meters, which is, and below 1000 cubic meters, countries begin experiencing chronic water stress. So we're almost at that level where if we go beyond, say, 100 more cubic meters per person per year, we would be in water stress. And the vast majority, about 90% of our water is being used. I really believe that the federal and provincial governments should, you know, put politics aside and conduct a consensus or a survey to figure out like which dams we need to build, right, which are completely essential, and how we're going to distribute that water, right? How important is Kalabagh Dam to Pakistan's existence? Because like, again, another existential question is the glaciers. And are you guys familiar with the predicament that we're in with the glaciers? Over 7,000, and the most outside the North and the South Pole in the world are based in Pakistan. And because we are seeing a rise in temperatures, the glaciers are melting faster. They're melting faster, so we get exposed to the threat of a glacial lake outburst, जिससे वो एक bridge भी फटा था, but then also more water coming downstream, and the country unable to kind of handle that sort of water, right? So we saw in the flood, say if we had a few dams in place, we could hold back a lot of that water. But because we did it, it became really difficult to kind of manage that. And again, water management, dams, barrages, canals to increase capacity and sustain changes, so floods and droughts. There is this, someone did this study where, you know, like South Punjab में Thal desert है, not Thar. Thal is something separate, जहाँ वो jeep की वो racing होती है. So you can reroute water from the Thal desert into South Punjab. So there has been a feasibility study built for this. कि जो आपका flood water का पानी है, you reroute it through the Thal desert, and you basically make the Thal desert an irrigation facilitated area by rerouting the water.